We've previewed the 2021 schedule for Wisconsin. Now we're going to give you a projected record based on that schedule and just based on how tough that schedule is. And again, this is the schedule. 4-3 last season. We'll see if their projection comes out higher. Of course, again, last year was a mess. They didn't get to play 3 games. 3 games were canceled. They did play a bowl game, and without that bowl game, this team would have been 3-3 last year. But when we do this projection, I want to make it clear that this is not an official prediction. This is simply a projection based on the schedule and just kind of grouping teams together based off of how they finished last year, what they have coming back, and maybe even looking at the head-to-head matchups last season. You know, Wisconsin is a team that started the year off really strong. They looked great in their first game. Then they had a couple of games canceled, looked pretty good in their fourth game. I think they were 2-0. And then it just went downhill. And I think COVID was a big part of that. They had a lot of guys miss games because of that. They had some injuries. The wide receiver group just was decimated by the end of the year. So, again, with Wisconsin, you have to look at this team when they were full strength when you project ahead to 2021. This is a scale that we will use. If it's a 50-50 game, we're going to leave it in white. That's a game that I could really see going either way. The spread, I don't think, will be more than 3 or 4 points. If you got your games less than 10%, those will be in red, 10 to 25% in orange, 26 to 40 in yellow, 60 to 74 in purple, 75 to 90 in blue, and if it's more than 90%, that will be in green. Do we have any green games for Wisconsin? We've got one. We've got Eastern Michigan, and that's close to 90%. This is not a 99% type game. I think it's just over the line where we can put this one in the green. Eastern Michigan has had some good years in the past, but I don't think this team this year is going to be one of those teams that really has a chance to win the MAC or anything like that. So Wisconsin should be able to take care of business. They should be able to win this game. Then we go to the blue, and you've got one of those. I think Illinois still, this program has a long ways to go with Brett Bielema coming in. That's going to be an interesting game playing against his old team in Wisconsin. But I just think that they're at least 1 year away from seeing any significant improvement. So I think the Badgers will be favored by double digits. And that's kind of what we're talking about in these blue games. That's where we think Vegas will favor the team by 10 to 20 points, somewhere in that range. So that's it. That's your only 2 games that you can say you feel great about. You think, yeah, Wisconsin should be able to win these 2 games. I feel really confident. The rest of the schedule is pretty difficult when you look at a lot of these opponents. Now, I think Wisconsin's going to be favored in a lot of these games, and that's what we're going to look at next, the purple games. These are games where I think Wisconsin will be favored by about a touchdown, 6, 7, 8 points, somewhere in that range. And I think the majority of the schedule does fall in that range. We're talking about Michigan at home. I think that they will be favored in that game. Just go back to last year, and that's, again, what we kind of do when we do these projections. You know, I might personally think Michigan's going to be much better. Michigan, I may pick them to win this game. But based off of the facts and what happened last year and the returning production and all of that, Wisconsin, I think, should be favored playing at home in this game. Army, I think they'll be favored in this game as well, but we know Army is a tough team to beat, so I think this one is going to be in the purple as well. Purdue playing them on the road. And the thing about this with this schedule, Purdue, Rutgers, Minnesota, if those games were at home, I probably would put them in the blue. But because they're on the road and because I do expect fans to be back in full force next year, or at least have an impact, even if it's not full capacity, I think we're going to see at least 50% capacity. Of course, a lot of things could change between now and then, but when I'm doing these projections, I'm assuming fans are going to have an impact. And so you're talking about playing those 3 games on the road against teams that, yeah, Wisconsin should be better than Purdue, Rutgers, and Minnesota, but when you're playing on the road like that, that does lower the percentage a little bit, and that puts it in the purple. Those are games where Wisconsin will be favored, but I don't think it's by a ton. And then you got Northwestern and Nebraska. Now, Northwestern, I know they won the division last year, went to the Big Ten Championship. They beat Wisconsin by 10 points, but this year it's at home for Wisconsin, and Northwestern lost a lot. When you look at returning production, the advantage does go to Wisconsin, so playing at home, I'm going to favor them there, and then Nebraska, I'm going to favor them against the Cornhuskers as well. But Nebraska is kind of a wild card because they've got talent on the roster. It just hasn't really come together for them, so we'll see what they look like next year. So these are your games, again, where Wisconsin will be favored. Then we've got the games in the white. And yes, I realize that, again, they made a typo there. Michigan will be on October 2nd, not September 2nd. But you've got Penn State, Notre Dame, and Iowa. These are the big games for Wisconsin. If they take care of business and they don't get upset and they win all the games they're supposed to win, these 3 games are going to determine how their season is going to wind up. You win all 3 of these games, you could be looking at 12-0. Just going 2-1, I think you have a chance to be in the playoff conversation. You lose a couple of these games, probably not going to happen. And again, that's assuming they take care of business in all those other games, which the odds would tell you all those games in purple, they're not going to win them all just because they're not going to be favored by that much. That many games, you're typically going to lose 1 or 2 of those matchups. So Penn State, big game to start the season off. Yes, Wisconsin looked better last year when they were at full strength, but Penn State finished strong, and it's week 1. So I think that's a 50-50 game. Notre Dame also, I think, is a 50-50 game. They lost a lot from last year's team, so Wisconsin might have an advantage, at least in returning production. And what's interesting is going to be Jack Cohn in that game, going from Wisconsin to Notre Dame. Very interesting playing against his old team. You have to wonder, when he decided, where he was going to transfer to, you have to wonder, did that play a part? Did he think, well, I'm going to go to a team where I can play my old team, play Wisconsin? I don't know if it had any impact or not, but anyways, that's where he wound up, and that's going to be a big game. And then Iowa is a game that, if a team like Nebraska doesn't emerge, and which is a team that I think has potential, but they just, again, haven't really lived up to that. If they don't emerge, if Northwestern doesn't kind of build off of what they did last year, this Wisconsin-Iowa game is more than likely going to be for the Big Ten West division. Whoever wins that game more than likely will win the division. So that is a huge game on October 30th, and again, it's a game that I think could go either way. So when we give you the projection, what we do is we count the green and the blue as wins. So we give them 2 wins, and then we average the rest out. We use 50% for the white, 60% for the purple. And when you average all these games out, the projection for Wisconsin in 2021 is 8-4. 8-4 the projection. Again, we're talking about splitting the 3 50-50 games. That would put them at 1.5 losses there. And then you have all of these games in purple. The odds would say that they're going to lose a couple of these games. So 4 losses for Wisconsin is the projection. I don't see them doing much worse than that. But again, just the way the schedule sets up and the way that they don't have many easy games, that's why that projection is a little bit lower. That's why they're projected to go 8-4. I would love to know your thoughts on this Wisconsin team and what you think their record is going to be. Do you think it'll be higher or lower than 8-4? And give me your projection down in the comments below. And thank you for watching this video.